welcome back to this week's episode of CNT. This week I have my friends Aiden and Tommy.
Hello. What's going on?
And so this week, you might have known we did Will They Make the Hall of Fame? You guys absolutely love that one, and it's the fourth highest viewed video of CNT. So we're doing a part 2 this week. So let's just hop right on into it. The first player on this list is Albert Almora Jr. I am a huge fan of him, and I always will be. He's been one of my favorite players for a long time. But I don't think he's going to make the Hall of Fame, as he's a role player and a decent starter at best. And so I don't think he will ever make the Hall of Fame. However, he is still one of my favorite players, and I will always be a fan of his.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I don't think he's done enough throughout his career to make the Hall of Fame. Phenomenal player, but like you said, I don't think he's done enough to be able to make the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he fits the Cubs system really well, but because he hasn't been he hasn't been a player that's shown to be outstanding or above the pack, and he isn't even the best player on his team. I don't see a scenario where he becomes a Hall of Fame inductee.
I agree with that. Another Cub here, Ian Happ. Now, before this year, I would have said no. This year, with the season he had, I have to say this. If he plays like he did this year, the rest of his career, he will for sure just slip into the Hall of Fame. He was the Cubs' best hitter this year and is still amazing defensively. He led our offense and honestly was a huge reason why we even made the playoffs. Cubs have gone off the rails since 2016. Big changes need to happen if we want to contend again, but he was a big reason why we did contend this year.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think if he stays in the form that he was in this year and continues that, leads the Cubs to maybe another World Series possibly, I would say, yeah, he's definitely going to make the Hall of Fame. But if he starts going downhill, then no, he's not. But if he keeps up this form for like a good 4 or 5 years and they can get a World Series out of it, then I think that he can make the Hall of Fame for sure.
For me personally, I love Ian Happ. I saw what he did for that Cubs offense, but I don't see many places where he gets a Hall of Fame. I think he has to take the Cubs. He has to be the forefront of a Cubs offense that goes and wins a World Series. I think that's the only way he gets in the Hall of Fame. Like I said, it's similar to Almora's situation, is that he's going to be good. He's he's still young, so I'll still call him up and coming. He still has a lot to prove. Yeah, he had one good season over 60 games, but can he prove it? Can he keep up that tendency over 162 game seasons? That's the biggest question mark for me.
I agree, it's a big question mark, but I mean, if we do lose a big name like Bryant or Baez, I do think he could become that leader of the offense, especially with some of the young guys we have coming up in a few years, like Ed Howard, Cole Reuter, Brendan Davis. I think he could be that if we lose one of those big names that we do have. The next player is Jason Kipnis. Yeah, he was on the Cubs, but I'm not a huge Kipnis guy. I never have been, and I don't think he will make the Hall of Fame. I mean, maybe if the Indians didn't blow a 3-1 lead in the World Series, I'd change my mind on that. But I don't have him making the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, he's a good second baseman, but he's not like those top tier second baseman. He probably fits like above average at best when he was in his prime. But now he's getting old, has to go downhill. I don't think he's done enough to make the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he's one of those players that you hate to see him go. David Ortiz, for example, without the star power that Ortiz had. He was something that you could just rely on to get a hit every now and again, but he isn't somebody that was the focal point of an offense, was a showstopper on defense. He just didn't provide any spectacular qualities that I think would warrant him making the Hall.
Yep. Next up we have Shohei Ohtani. Now, I voiced in other episodes that his time has come and gone. He needed to be good. He's past that. I no longer think he can prove himself to me. I think I consider him a bust at this point, and so I do not have him making the Hall of Fame, and I don't even have him becoming even anywhere near it. I'm completely over the hype over him, and I consider him an absolute bust at this point.
I mean, you pretty much just summed up what I would have said about him. I mean, you expect one of the best Japanese players. We're expecting a Ichiro coming from him, but he comes over, has a good start, I would say, and then he gets injured. And ever since he's gotten injured, he has not been the same. He has not performed as well, and that is why I agree with you, and he will not make the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, he was an enigma coming from Japan. He was Japanese baseball legend. But I mean, like Aiden said, we expected Ichiro. We expected some sort of star power. This was a chance for Japanese baseball to say we can contend in the major leagues. He did not help that argument. He has done nothing to prove that we should have faith in people, complete faith in people that come over, and assume that everyone is like Ichiro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I still think there's still amazing Japanese players who can live up to the hype, and I think he has the talent to do so. He became injury prone as soon as he got here, which really hurt him. So next up, I think Garrett Cole, phenomenal pitcher. I think he will make the Hall of Fame, especially if he wins with the Yankees. I don't want him to. I'm a huge Yankees hater, but you have to admit if he wins another one, he's an absolute lock. And even if he doesn't, I still have him making the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with you. I mean, he's in Cy Young form right now, probably at the prime of his career. If he can get out there, lead the Yankees to a World Series, pitch a couple good games in the World Series, and his previous seasons he's been pretty good as well. So if he keeps that up, then I do see him making the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I think the one question mark with Garrett Cole is Pittsburgh. What do the people who decide on who goes into the Hall of Fame, what do those people think about his time in Pittsburgh? Because it was enough for the Astros to trade for him, but there's a reason people probably didn't go for him sooner. Like, is that going to be enough of a hamper on his career to limit where he goes beyond that?
I mean, personally for me, I don't think that's enough to keep him out, but it is a very good take on it, and we could see that happening, where his time in Pittsburgh prevents him, maybe delays him a few years, but I don't think it will overall keep him out entirely.
Yeah, I agree. I think he is going to make it, but when looking at it, there is that. I think that that's a question that does have to be raised.
I agree. I fully agree with that. And with next up is who was my favorite pitcher last year, Yu Darvish. Now, this is gonna be. I have a lot to say on him. I think he will make the Hall of Fame, and he's why. At the start of his year in the MLB, he was great. He was one of the fastest pitchers to get all these strikeouts. He was putting up records. And then he gets to the Dodgers. He loses them a World Series. And then when he signs a massive deal with the Cubs, a contract that as a Cubs fan I hate, and starts off terrible for us. But last year came in second for Cy Young and pitched out of his mind and was easily a top 3 pitcher last year. And I think with this great start, and if he continues what he does, I do think he will make the Hall of Fame.
I mean, if we're gonna talk about Yu Darvish, we should also, like Tommy brought up with Pittsburgh, his early years. I mean, first comes into the league, he was very, very good. Then he gets injured. He gets injured a lot, and he's out for I don't remember how long, but he was out for quite some time. Comes back, he does all right, gets traded, starts off horrible, and like you said, he's been pitching amazing now. I think it's going to depend on what people view in his early years, like we said about Garrett Cole. So I'm gonna say if he, like you said, if he stays pitching like he is right now, then yeah, he will make the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, Aiden brought up pretty much what I was exactly going to say. I mean, what we saw from him in I mean, honestly, he was one of my favorite pitchers while he was with Texas. I think that the Dodgers is going to be a certain blot on his resume. I think that if he stays true to the form that we've seen this past year, there's a chance, but we also have to keep in mind he's 34 currently as we're recording this. So we don't know how much longer, we don't know how much more he has in the tank.
Mm-hmm. Overall, what I'm hearing is that if he continues to pitch well, he will, and that the Cubs made a huge mistake giving him that big of a deal at his age.
Yeah, 6 years, $126 million does not make sense.
It's that contract, him and Hayward's contract is going to prevent us from keeping both Bryant and Baez, which I hate to say. And I love Darvish as a player after last year, but I absolutely hate his contract very much. And honestly, it might ruin us and put us into another slump for a few years because of that contract.
I'd say you wouldn't give someone his age that contract. You would give, say, if Kyle Lewis keeps putting up numbers like he has been, you give him that in like 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, and just not Darvish at that age, especially right after he lost the Dodgers a World Series too. He didn't even come off of a good year. He came off of his worst year in his entire career. So next up is Matt Kepler of the Twins. I'm a huge fan of his, but I do think he'll make a few All-Star games, but again, he's just not at that level, and I don't think he will get there. I think I can name, at the end of his career, I'm going to assume I can name 10 outfielders who played in the same era that were better than him, that would deserve it more. And so that way, I do not think he will make the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I'll completely agree with you on that. I mean, Twins are starting to build a pretty good team down there, and he's one of the star players on that team right now. And like you said, he probably will make a couple All-Star games, but I don't think it'll be enough for him to be able to make the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we need from him is maybe a MVP or two, and an All-Star win or two. I mean, that's the only. I mean, if he keeps on this current pace, there's no chance. We need to see something more from him in order to get something. In order for us to expect for him to get a Hall of Fame nod.
Mm-hmm. Next up is one of my favorite managers, one of my favorite players to watch, J.P. Crawford. Greatly defensively, still super young, and this might be a bit of a stretch. I say he makes the Hall of Fame, and here's why. The Mariners are terrible, yes, but underrated. They're what the Blue Jays were a few years ago. They have a bunch of young talent about to get there, and give them those young talents a few years. They have Braden Bishop still in the minors. They have Kyle Lewis, just won Rookie of the Year. They have J.P. Crawford, who's extremely underrated. They have Marco Gonzalez, who can be solid. They have Justice Sheffield. They have the prospects to do good. They sign someone great. Let's say they sign a all-star first baseman. Maybe not a first baseman, but they sign an all-star worthy player, maybe an MVP contender, or they trade for Lindor. They can win World Series. Give them 4 to 5 years, they will be serious contenders. And that's why I do think Crawford will make the Hall of Fame.
I mean, what you just said is making me, rethink my answer a little bit. I mean, I didn't watch the Mariners as much this year because they obviously suck. But the two names that did stand out to me were obviously Kyle Lewis and J.P. Crawford. Very underrated, like you said. Hall of Fame, he would have to be the person that leads the Mariners to a World Series. He'd have to win World Series MVP. He would have to put up consistent numbers like all these other amazing shortstops, like Trevor Story or any of those shortstops do. And he is going to be Hall of Fame dependent on what the organization does moving forward. So I'm gonna say no for now, and we'll see in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I follow the same narrative as Aiden. It's gonna be a we'll see. I mean, obviously with a lot of you guys, there's no way to know. But I think J.P. Crawford is one of the larger unknowns. For most of these other people, there's an indicator, but we don't really have an indicator considering his performance versus the overall performance of the Mariners as a whole, it's much more of a unknown of what we're going to see from him in the years to come, if or if not they recruit more pieces.
Mm-hmm. And so, what you guys are saying, what just talking about what Aiden said, I just want to put this out there is he said he'd have to lead the Manos team to that. I don't think that's necessarily true because if they do what I say, he doesn't have to be that main option. He's a defensive presence strictly. His offense is a little iffy. If he works on that all off season for the next few years, he can get that up. But he's great defensively and will easily help and make an impact there. Kyle Lewis, and let's say they do trade for Lindor and they play J.P. Crawford at second, and so they're both playing. It'd be Kyle Lewis and Lindor leading that team to the playoffs and leading them. But I think all three of them will make it. As you don't need to lead a team to make the Hall of Fame. We're at the 2016 Cubs. Would you consider Wilson Contreras one of those leaders? I personally don't. I consider Baez, Rizzo, Zobrist, and Bryant the full main leaders. Yet Contreras still has a good shot to make the Hall of Fame. You don't need to be the star to make the Hall of Fame. So moving on to Dustin Fowler, I'm pretty high on him, and I think he is just gonna slip in only if the Athletics start going far in the playoffs. If they do that, I think he has a shot.
I don't know much about him, but if you're saying that you're high on him, and if the Athletics, like you said, make playoffs, because they do have a very talented team down there, then I'm gonna just go yes with you, but I don't really know much about him.
Yeah, so I'm in the same similar boat as Aiden. I don't watch or follow really the Athletics, but from what I've seen from Dustin Fowler, I don't have much confidence because I'm of the opinion that if you're gonna be a Hall of Famer, you have to have meaning on a team. For Justin's argument for J.P. Crawford, going back to that, he was talking about how you don't have to be number one option. Yeah, he brings that defense to the team. I don't think with Matt Chapman and all these other players that are on the Athletics roster, I don't think that there's much that he brings to the team that they don't have elsewhere.
Yeah, that's right. It's really a toss-up. Like, he could easily not make it. He could make it. But I think he will. Next up, we have Jake Junis. I'm going to be alright here. I think he's going to be solid, but nowhere near Hall of Fame material.
Yeah, there's not really much to say about him. He's probably, at best, an average pitcher. No, he's not making playoffs. Not a chance in my book.
Yeah, I'm the same. Look, he's over his career, he has a 4.78 ERA. That's not Hall of Fame caliber.
Nowhere close to it.
Win-loss percentage he doesn't even have a 50% win-loss percentage.
You can't tack that all on him. He does play for the Royals.
Yeah, it doesn't help his case, but I just don't think he has done enough that it would warrant. He's already 28. There isn't, with some of these younger players, there's there's room to grow. With him, there isn't much room for him to grow.
Have a high ceiling.
Next up we have James McCann. No, he's not great. Just there's no chance. There's no way he makes Hall of Fame. Not even if he has 1 year where he's Mike Trout, that still wouldn't be enough for him.
There's not really much to say. No, he's not making Hall of Fame.
Yeah, the total throughout his career, he has a 2.49 batting average. That's not bad. Over his career, 252 RBIs, I mean, he doesn't put up spectacular numbers. I mean, that's a big thing if you're a catcher. I mean, you're either going to be a very defensive catcher, or you're going to be a very offensive-minded catcher. We don't see much of either. He's just middle of the road. I'm here. I'm reliable as a catcher.
Mm-hmm. Next up, another similar to James McCann, Mike Zunino. I think he's a little bit better and he'll have a better shot at it, but still no chance Mike Zunino makes Hall of Fame.
As much as I love him, and he won't make Hall of Fame, but if he keeps having he's been doing pretty well with the Rays. I mean, he's been a pretty good catcher, way better than he was with the Mariners, but like you said, I don't think he's done enough to be able to make Hall of Fame at all.
Yeah, I mean, quick stats for you. I mean, he's even worse hitting than McCann was through more years. 200 batting average, more homers. I mean, he's a slightly more offensive-minded player. So, yeah, I mean, the stats support Justin's argument. He's slightly better than McCann in all facets of the catcher's game, but he doesn't, not even close to Hall of Fame, even potential.
Mm-hmm. So, last player here. I already know what Tommy's answer is. His favorite player, Nolan Arenado. A phenomenal third baseman, best third baseman in the league. And it's an easy yes for me. He's a great player, and he's amazing. I mean, he should honestly get out of Colorado. It might hurt Tommy to hear that, but they're holding him back. He could be doing so much more for a better team. And they have the team. They have the talent to do good. They just don't every year. So, but yeah, I do think he will make the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, there's no questions. Like you said, best third baseman in the league. One of the best gloves I've ever seen from a third baseman. He makes these stops at third base that I don't see many people making, except for maybe like Manny Machado in his prime. But yeah, like you said, he needs to get out of Colorado if he wants to win something. Unless they bring in an actual strength pitcher that can lead them more along the way, and maybe a better offensive hitter. I mean, they have Trevor Story and Nolan.
May I?
Yeah, you can go.
No, we need a bullpen. I'm a Rockies guy. We need a bullpen. We haven't had a bullpen since Houston Street 8 years ago. I mean, Arenado's an easy 8-time Gold Glove throughout. He's been in the league since 2013, so every single year he's gotten the Gold Glove. 4-time Platinum Glove, 5-time All-Star, 4-time Silver Slugger. I mean,
thank you all for watching. I really do appreciate it. Big thank you to Aiden and Tommy for coming on.
Yeah, of course. Pleasure as always.
If you guys want to see a part 3, get 25 views on this in the next 5 months, and we'll do a part 3.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you all for watching. I'll see you next week. Bye.